Welcome to Messy Mondays, where healthcare admin gets real one mess at a time. I'm Brittany,
I'm Satasha.
and we are BCN, your billing and credentialing network. And today's topic is Satasha.
Patient portals. So we was going to be messy today. We have seen a lot of dialogue because a provider made a post about not wanting to use the patient portal or the messaging portal or the MyChart to talk to patients because they're not reimbursed. And it blew up all over the internet, causing this particular provider to delete the post. But now you have other providers coming in and saying, hey, I agree with this person. Like, I really don't want to use the messaging portal because I'm not being reimbursed for it. I'm spending time messaging back and forth with a patient and there's no reimbursement for that. And then you have patients that are upset, like, you want me to come all the way in so you can be reimbursed for 30 minutes. That's something that could have been done online, or you can read me my results over the phone, or you could have put the results in the messaging portal so that you can be reimbursed. We're not gonna lie, we work in healthcare industry and we hate the fact that the industry has become a factor. Let's say that has become a really strong factor in the relationships between patients and providers. So the relationship for patients and providers right now is kind of ill because it makes it seem like providers are only in it for money and patients are being ridiculous because insurances don't want to pay, or the patients don't have the money to pay for these off-site services or this direct service type pay. And we really don't like it, but we're here to educate y'all. So guess what? Let's go ahead and knock this out. Messy Mondays. Let's go ahead and dispute this. There are codes that were dropped this year because CMS heard the provider say, hey, during COVID, we were doing a lot of messaging and we weren't getting reimbursed for it unless it was an actual visit. Well, CMS came, they dropped some new billable and reimbursable codes that have everything to do with patient portal messaging and digital E&M. So what does that entail? So digital E&M is basically talking to the patient about a subject, an illness, or whatever that's going on. Basically an e-visit that doesn't require for you to be face-to-face audio. There are codes that are reimbursed. Are they lower reimbursements? Yes. I see a lot of you guys talking about $50, 100, doing a subscription fee for $150 a month or something like that. Well, these codes allow you to be reimbursed. The reimbursement rates, like I said, are not high. They're anywhere between $14 and $50 per session, but you can only use them in a 7-day increment. Let's say it again. You can only use them in a 7-day increment. There are also codes if the provider calls you to talk to you about your ailment, your appointment, and stuff like that. There are codes that they can use just for audio. It does not have to be your regular E&M codes, the 992XX. It doesn't have to be those. There are other codes that they have implemented in CMS for you guys to be reimbursed. So please don't be mad at the patients because they said they can't afford to come. They can't afford it to pay you $50, but the insurances are now have these codes. We have to don't know what state you're in, don't know what insurance companies you are qualified for or that you're credentialed with, but most of these carriers are paying these codes now. If you have billers or coders that are working within your practice, you need to tell them to research. If you're doing your billing by yourself, highly unsuggested. But if you're doing your billing yourself, you need to stay up on AAPC, CMS codes all the time. Codes drop October 1st every year. Every
Every
year.
year.
They do updates all year long, but new books come out on the 1st every year. You need to make sure your billers and your billers and your coders are doing your continuing education so they can know these new codes that are being added and left out. Some they even have books or pamphlets that tell you the new codes that have been added and what codes have been taken out. Um, I know I talked a lot, Brittany. Do you want to?
No, you were doing so great. So I was just like, she got it. Um, so basically what Natasha is saying, skipping or not making yourself knowledgeable of these codes, you're leaving money on the table. And I know you guys don't want to do that. And though it may seem like, oh, well, what's $14 to $50? If you have multiple patients, that adds up. So keep that in mind. Um, you know, we know we might get a little pushback on this, but we absolutely strongly suggest using portal secure messaging as a form of communication and billing for it if you can, because it eliminates those phone calls and having to be on the phone with a patient, because sometimes that can turn into, it's supposed to be 15 minutes, it could be 30, 45 minutes. So a message being able to be sent, and then most of the EHR systems, and most of the ones that we work with, those messages are kept as part of the patient's file, so they don't go anywhere, and you have to document anyway. So having that as receipt and record, you can cut, copy, and paste, you know, make things easier for yourself, if the portal message meets the criteria.
Exactly. So, like I said, it's three new codes. They're in different increments. So you have 5 to 10 minute code, you have an 11 to 20 minute code, then you have a 21 minute plus code. So that's basically the time that you're spending going back and forth with the patient. You do have a code that's not really reimbursable. Some Medicaid plans do pay for it. That's when you're reviewing the documentation, like going over lab work and stuff like that. It's also a 990 code, but you can use that as well because you're going over labs or you're going over testing and you need to reach out to the patient and say, hey, this is what's going on, or it's patient initiated. Most of it, one of the key factors is it has to be patient initiated for you to be reimbursed. The patient initiates the portal. The patient is already an established patient. The issue is the issue that's being addressed is not the same issue that they've talked to you about in the last 7 days, or had a telehealth visit or in visit. It's basically a new or unrelated problem that you guys already have. But if it's already been past 5 days, let's say you went to see somebody on the first, somebody came to see you on the first, lab work is done, and it's the 8th, and you need to talk to them about it, it needs to be, email back and forth, then you can go ahead and talk about this. And again, this is only can be used in a 7-day increment. You can't yet, so you can only see the patient once a month via digital portal. It's an acceptable bill. You reimburse for it, and I hate that this is the conversation that's being had because we're not knowledgeable about our codes, because you can be reimbursed for this. And even like Brittany said, you don't want to do a phone call, but even if you're on the phone, there is a code that you can use because you talk to your patient for 30 minutes and you will be reimbursed. Just matter of fact, let's do a live. Let me look and tell you what that reimbursement rate gonna be. I'll tell you that the bottom rate first, and then we can look at that, because I don't want you guys to sit here and think that you cannot be reimbursed for seeing your patients, because that is ludicrous. You can, for audio only, you can be reimbursed for those. Um, so your basic rate for an audio only visit that is more than 10 minutes, uh, it's $45 to $50 for an audio, for a 10+ minute visit, 10 to 15 minute visit. Over the phone, audio, it's $50 reimbursement. So let's not be mad at each other. Patients, don't be mad at providers, because patients, you also have to understand they have to feed their families, you know? Um, and providers, you guys have to get educated on these codes. You have to get educated on the codes, and we can't not talk to our patients because we're
Yeah.
not being reimbursed. But there are codes out there, y'all. The codes are out there.
Definitely. And set expectations, and you might get some pushback from some patients regarding, using the portal. You have older clients who are like, well, I don't know how to do that. And, we're not telling you to just jump right out there and start like enforcing it, but talk to your patients, have your admin talk to your clients, patients, and let them know that this is, something that you're going to be utilizing, and, that you will be billing for something that was once free, because now, you can bill for these type of services. And, some might be dissatisfied, or they may not message you at all once they be like, oh, they're charging for it. So, talk to your patients. Definitely have a conversation, make them aware. Don't just jump right out there and start saying, oh, if you need X, Y, and Z, you're going to have to start using the portal, and we are charging for this type of service. Let them know beforehand before you even initiate that.
And the main reason to have to tell them that you're going to be billing for it is because they might have a co-insurance. They might have a copay. It might be a part of their deductible when you bill the insurance for these charges. But the misconception of portal messages aren't billable, we're just treating them for free. That they're billable most of
Yeah.
the time. That they are billable, and we need to
Yeah.
skip.
And a good way to, didn't mean to cut you off, but a good way, like if you have been using it, but you weren't aware that you could bill for it, do an audit of your volume of your portal messages and track and see how many patient initiated messages you're responding to each week. That's a good way. And then add that number up with what we just told you, giving you the lowest and the highest to kind of see where you would stand if you were actually billing. Now, don't go back and bill for stuff that you've already done. Don't do that. We're not telling you to do that. But that's a good way to give you a more informed, like, okay, like we really need to push for this and advertise this and say 2026, and we're not saying January 2026 because that's right around the corner, but like put an effective date for it, set something, letting patients and giving them, making them aware, and kind of so they can get it in their minds.
So, about the documentation that Brittany was talking about, documentation and compliant risk. Don't mix up these messages with rescheduling, refills, and things of that nature, non-billable administrative type things. There is a code that you can use for administrative. They're not really reimbursement. I think it's like 99080 that you can use for like forms or whatever. It's not really reimbursable. But just make sure we're not using it for admin. Make sure that the discussion has sufficient details, decision making, date, time, the problem that was addressed in the portal message, and how long that the portal message went back and forth. So if you and your patient all together spent 15 minutes going back and forth between each message, then that's time that's allocated to the patient's care. So just make sure that documentation and compliance is there when you're using these portal codes.
Definitely. And also when you have like you're doing the insurance verification, take that time to ask if that's covered under that patient's policy, because again, not all insurances are equal. So it might be specific to that particular insurance. So make sure you're asking specifically for that patient. Okay, I want to check for benefits for mental health, and I want to know, is it covered office, telehealth, and like what we're talking about, portal messages, is that billable? Can we get reimbursed for that sort of thing? So, and then that way you don't just bill it, and then when it comes back and you're not reimbursed, you're like, well, you didn't know. So
Yeah,
just keep that in mind
avoid
as well.
denials. Avoid denials.
And train your staff. Like we said, train your staff. Please train your staff. Make sure they understand what portal messages are billable and when there are simply administrative for or refills or scheduling and what shouldn't be billed. and also explain or put together some type of you know, document to give to patients or submit to patients. Like I know, like for new patients, you can do it part of their intake packet, like a document that says, okay, medical portal messages are billable, and then share what type of, messages are billable. So if you message me about this, expect to be billed for this, and that sort of thing. Have a standard, letting them know, and just educating them, so that way they're not getting a bill and they're like, what is this?
Exactly. So I hope this is helpful. If your billers and your coders are not up to date, hit us
Call
up.
us.
Call us. Call us. Hit our line, send us a message. That way we do provide training. They do provide training. We do provide training. We provide training. We're not just billers, we're not just coders. We actually provide training for those who already have in-house um, billers. But it's very essential that the people you have on payroll, let me take my glasses off and say it. It is very essential that the people you have on payroll are necessary factors to your business. Everybody that's on your payroll needs to be bringing in money. So if they're not adequately trained or not keeping their continuing education, then they do not need to be on your staff. You are losing money because you have people that you are paying on a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly basis who cannot sufficiently bring your money back in. Okay? So make sure your billers and your coders are adequately trained and that they are receiving all the information that they need. And I'm gonna put my glasses back on because I can't see nothing. But I just need y'all to see my eyes when I did this. Anything else, Brittany?
No, I think that we covered all of this, and we're always open. You guys can comment, in our posts. If there's other information that you all might be interested in hearing about, or topics you all want us to discuss, let us know, please.
Yeah, because this right here, this Discord, the explosion that we've seen in the last day or two was wild. And me and Brittany are sitting there like, why y'all mad? Y'all can't bill for that. It's
Look,
not for messaging.
our clients not mad.
Like, why y'all mad? Why didn't nobody tell y'all? So we here to tell y'all. We here to help y'all and give out as much information as we can so that your practices can stay afloat and that you can still have great relationships with your patients and use the technologies that's out here. Like the insurance companies know that technology is a huge thing. So they're trying to incorporate it as best as they can. But you also have to understand the industry, unfortunately, is about money. It's all about money. It's just where we are. And it's sad that healthcare is now a money maker for people and it's crazy. But and when I say people, I'm not talking about providers. I'm talking about people that make way more money than us and they got jets and 50 cars and stuff like that. It's not for us small people, but they're trying. They are really trying. CMS is trying to catch up and keep everybody, at a livable pay. So if y'all need help, hit
Yes,
us up, hit all of the links below. Send us a message, call our line. You can send us a text message and say, I saw your episode, but I got a question about this, that, and the third. And me and Brittany gonna hit you back with a link and say it to our face so we could talk to you face to face and give you the information that you need. Um, but yeah, that wraps up another messy Monday. We tackled a hard truth. But remember, it's always about improving, learning, and becoming a better provider. Learning what's best for your practice and your patients. Like I said, if you found this episode helpful, share it with your team, share it with your comrade, put it on the post that y'all sitting up here ranting about and let's keep the discussion going. Join us next Monday for more insights that help your practice admin game tighten up. Until then, keep it cute, keep it ethical, and take care of your patients, baby.